Have you ever exploded over something small? A rude comment, a driver who cuts you off, someone ignores your message, and your mind spirals. You tell yourself you're just being human. But deep down, you're tired of being controlled by your emotions. Now imagine this. You walk into the same situation, the same insult, the same chaos, but this time, something's different. You don't react. You don't raise your voice. You don't even flinch. Not because you're numb, but because you're free. What if I told you that freedom from anger isn't some mystical idea, but a skill you can train? Starting today, the Stoics mastered this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire during war, plague, and betrayal, and kept his calm. Epictetus was born a slave, yet called himself freer than any emperor. They weren't superhuman. They just understood one thing we keep forgetting. You don't control what happens. You only control how you see it. In this video, you'll learn the exact Stoic mindset that will make you unshakable in the face of anything, anyone. If you've ever wished you could stop getting angry, this might just be the moment everything changes. Let's begin. To the Stoics, anger isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we allow. Let that sink in. We don't get angry because of what people do. We get angry because of how we judge what they do. Imagine this. Someone bumps into you on the street. You spin around, ready to snap, until you see they're blind. What changed? Not the event. Your perception of it. That's the Stoic secret. It's not events that disturb us, but our opinion about them. This idea comes straight from Epictetus, and it's the foundation for emotional freedom. Let's break it down with a key Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. According to Epictetus, life is divided into two categories. What is within our control? Our thoughts, reactions, choices. What is outside our control? Everything else, whether traffic, other people's opinions, even our bodies. Anger happens when we confuse the two. You can't control how someone speaks to you. You can't control delays, accidents, or disrespect. But you can control how you interpret those moments. The Stoics trained themselves daily to focus only on what was theirs to command, their own minds. But here's the real power move: preparation. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. Before entering any day, they would reflect. Today, I might be insulted. Someone will be rude. I might fail. They didn't do this to be pessimistic. They did it to stay ready, to stop being shocked, to remain stable when the world spun out. Because think about it. How often does anger come from surprise? He shouldn't have said that. She should have been more respectful. This isn't fair. But the Stoics would say, who promised you fairness? Who said life would unfold on your terms? Seneca wrote, he who expects the wicked not to do wrong is himself in the wrong. This is where modern people get stuck. We want control over everything. But the Stoics taught the opposite. Freedom begins when you stop demanding that life be easy or others be perfect. Let's make it real. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your blood starts to boil. But ask yourself, can I control their driving? No. Can I control how I respond? Yes. So why give them my peace? The moment you recognize what's in your control, anger starts to dissolve. It becomes unnecessary. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore injustice. It means you respond with reason, not rage. You act with virtue, not vengeance. That's the Stoic way. Anger is a wildfire. It burns first in you, and then everything around you. The Stoics chose to be fireproof. They chose to build an inner fortress, a mental space so strong, so clear, that no insult or offense could breach it. They didn't wait for peace to arrive. They practiced it. And so can you. You don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need to win arguments to be wise. You just need to choose, moment by moment, not to hand your power to what you can't control. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Let's look at one quote that cuts to the heart of everything we've been talking about. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Epictetus. Let's pause right there. This is not the usual advice you hear. We're told anger is natural, that it's justified, that people deserve our reaction. But Epictetus flips the mirror. If someone makes you angry, it's not just them, it's you. Your mind agreed to be provoked. Now that's a hard truth. But it's also liberating. Because if your mind is complicit, that means your mind can also stop participating. Let's break the quote down line by line. If someone succeeds in provoking you, notice the word succeeds. It implies this was an attempt, a test. Someone insults you, they're pushing a button. But the button only works if you give it power. The Stoics believed life constantly tests your character. How you respond, especially when disrespected, reveals who you are. Realize that your mind is complicit. This is the core of Stoic mastery. Epictetus doesn't say the world is perfect. He doesn't deny that people can be rude, unjust, cruel. But he says your suffering begins when your judgment joins the offense. Someone calls you a fool. If you believe them, you feel ashamed. If you want to be liked by them, you feel angry. But if you see the insult for what it is, just noise, it loses all power. In the provocation is an invitation. You can RSVP with rage, or you can decline and walk away with your peace. It's like being handed a burning coal. You don't have to hold it. Let me tell you a story. A Roman general once insulted a philosopher in front of a crowd, mocking his clothes, his voice, his status. Everyone expected a retaliation. But the philosopher simply smiled and said, "Is that all? I was expecting worse." And then he walked away. Who had more power in that moment? The man shouting, or the man unmoved? That's Stoicism in action. The power to not react, because your peace is internal, untouchable. Here's another quote, this time from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus wasn't writing from a beach house. He was writing in military tents, in the middle of war, while dealing with betrayal, disease, and constant political threats. And yet, he writes like a man who found something deeper than comfort. He found command over himself. Now imagine bringing this into your life. You're in a meeting. Someone takes credit for your idea. You feel your chest tighten. That old flame of anger starts rising. But you pause. You remember Epictetus. Your mind doesn't have to join this. You remember Marcus. You only control your thoughts, not theirs. Suddenly, you're not a puppet. You're a master. You respond with calm, clarity, and strength. And in that moment, you're more powerful than any title, any insult, any attack. Because you didn't just react. You chose your peace. That's the Stoic ideal. Not emotionless, but emotionally sovereign. Not cold, but composed. And it's not just for emperors or philosophers. It's for you. Right now. Now, let's bring all of this down to earth. We don't live in ancient Rome. We live in a world of traffic jams, smartphones, noisy neighbors, Twitter arguments, and passive-aggressive coworkers. So how does Stoicism help here? Let's take a look. 1. The workplace. You're in a meeting. Your boss criticizes you unfairly. Or worse, someone takes credit for your work. Instantly, your ego wants to strike back. You want to defend yourself, prove them wrong, lash out. But pause, breathe, ask, what's within my control right now? Can I respond without giving away my peace? The Stoic approach here isn't silence out of fear. It's power held with precision. You may choose to speak, but not from anger. From clarity. You don't let them pull you into the mud. You stay above it. 2. Online arguments. Someone insults you in a comment section, calls you names, challenges your beliefs. The old version of you would have replied. Paragraphs, sarcasm, fury. But now, you scroll past, smiling. Because you remember, if someone provokes you, your mind must cooperate for anger to exist. Epictetus. Why waste your inner peace on a stranger who doesn't even know you? You didn't lose. You chose. 3. Family conflict. Your parents say something hurtful. Your sibling brings up the past. Your partner disappoints you. These are the hardest moments because they're personal. But here's the truth. Stoicism doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let emotion drive the wheel. You take a breath. You listen, even if it hurts. You don't react out of impulse. You respond out of principle. You say, "This isn't worth my peace." Or, "I'll speak, but on my terms with virtue." 4. Mental rehearsal, the Stoic habit. One of the most powerful tools the Stoics used, and you can too, is mental preparation. Each morning, remind yourself, today I may be disrespected. Someone will test me. I might be rejected. But instead of being upset when it happens, you nod, because you expected it. You're no longer surprised by storms. You train for them. That's resilience by design. 5. Daily practice. Here's what you can start doing right now. Journal each night. Ask, what angered me today? Could I have seen it differently? Repeat affirmations in tense moments. This is outside my control. Or, I choose peace. Walk away when needed. Physically stepping back gives your mind room to reset. Practice silence. Sometimes, saying nothing is the loudest sign of strength. In the modern world, where everyone reacts instantly, the one who can stay calm becomes a rare and powerful force. You become unshakable, not because the world is kind, but because you chose not to be ruled by it. That's real freedom. That's stoicism. That's your edge. So let's come back to where we started. Imagine that moment again. The one that used to trigger you. The insult, the betrayal, the frustration. But this time, picture yourself standing in it, with total stillness. No panic, no anger, just clarity. You've trained your mind. You've reclaimed your power. You no longer hand over your peace like it's cheap. That's what the Stoics taught. Not how to suppress emotions, but how to master them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In a world where everyone is shouting, be the one who stays silent. In a world full of blame, be the one who takes responsibility. In a world built on reactions, be the one who chooses their response. You are not here to be ruled by emotion. You are not here to be predictable, fragile, or easy to provoke. You are here to become the kind of person who can stand in the middle of the storm and still be the calmest presence in the room. So the next time life tests you, and it will, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "How will I respond? With strength or with surrender?" The answer is always yours. Now go live it.